Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our Buddha's birthday weekend. Today we'll have the Inka Ceremony. First we'll have Ken Kessel, Jigo Potsing giving the opening speech. Also, I'd just like to announce when everybody comes up to give a speech, you can just adjust this. You don't have to move this whole thing.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Inka Ceremony for Dennis and Merrie. Stamping paper, stamping clay, stamping water, stamping air. Which kind of stamp is the best stamp? Inka is an interesting term. Originally, it meant public document or public seal. Maybe seal of approval. Some people say recognition. But the origin of this was that it's one of those a long time ago in China stories. A long time ago in China, if there was a decree issued from the central government to the provinces, there had to be some way to verify its authenticity. So the decree would be written on a piece of paper, and then a copy would be made, and the two papers would be aligned. Then a stamp was made at the seam between the two papers. So half the stamp appeared on the original paper, and half the stamp appears on the copy. Then the copies were distributed to the provinces as decrees. And if there was some doubt as to whether this was the original document or a forgery, it was brought back to the seat of government. The two papers were lined up, and if the seals matched, then it was recognized as an original copy as opposed to a forgery. So that means minds meeting. That means if you see a teacher, you have a teacher. If you don't see a teacher, you don't have a teacher. So Inka is like water flowing into water or air flowing into air. No hindrance whatsoever. That's the first step to becoming a Zen master formally, but that means trust and connection, or transformation. So we make teachers with our eyes and we make teachers with our ears, collectively as the Sangha and individually in our relationships with the people whom we call teachers and the people and sentient beings that we see moment to moment. But there are interesting Buddhist stories about that, as there always are. So when Joju first met Namchon asked, "Where are you coming from?" And Joju said something to the effect of the temple of the great golden Buddha. Namchon said, "Have you seen the great golden Buddha?" And Joju said to Namchon, who was lying on his side at the time, "I never saw the golden Buddha, I only see a reclining Buddha before me." When Unmun met Shuifeng, he sent a emissary on his behalf up to the temple and told him to ask Shuifeng, how will you remove the iron yoke from around your neck? That's the job of all the people in the front row here and over here right now, is to remove the iron yoke from their necks. So that was Unmun's question. But Shuifeng thought that perhaps this was not the genuine article. So he said to him, "That's not your question." And he said, yes, it is. But Shuifeng persisted, asking him where it came from, and he wouldn't say so. Shuifeng said, "Bring the ropes and the whips." He was going to beat him. And the monk gave up and said, no, it's that monk down at the bottom of the hill. So Shuifeng sent his retinue down to the bottom and went with him. And he met Unmun face to face and said, "How has it come to this?" And Unmun merely stuck out his neck like that. But there's an older story, and I think it pertains in many ways to the practice that we do together and the possibility of transformation. In Buddhist time, there was a child born named Ahimsaka. which means harmless. Ahimsa, if you know anything about Hinduism or nonviolence, just means non-harm. So the child was named Harmless, Ahimsaka, but he was born to a family for whom it was predicted that the child would become a very violent person. So they gave him a peaceful name, and as he became older, they sent him to Tamitsila, I think it's called, which was the leading university at the time. He studied with the main teacher and became the main student. This aroused some jealousy on the part of all the other students because they thought, well, our teacher is giving him all the attention, and we're not getting anything. So they wanted to turn the teacher against the student, but they couldn't figure out a way to do that directly. And this young man was very strong, so they couldn't harm him directly either. So they started whispering, and they would send people to the teacher saying, we thought you should know this, that your student is plotting to take over your place. So the first time, no, that's not true. And the second time, no, that's not true. But by the third and the fourth time, many people said it, and he thought, oh, maybe this is true, I should do something. But he also thought, I can't do anything, this man is young and strong, and he could harm me if I tried to harm him. So he called the student Ahimsaka to him, and he said, there's one final task which you must accomplish if you're going to get my seal of approval. You must bring me a necklace garland made from 1,000 right index fingers, or right small fingers of human beings. And when you bring me this garland, then I will give you authority. That's a rough task. We don't ask that of our teachers. Yet. And at first he protested. No, I can't do this. This is bringing harm to people. And the teacher persisted, saying, if you want the fruit of the science that you're studying, then you have to do the work. So somehow that turned his mind because he wanted something. So in his wanting something, he went out and didn't think, well, maybe if I rob graves or something that wouldn't cause violence, I could get this. Well, instead he went into the forest, and because he was big and strong, he began to kill people. And then he would take their fingers and cut them and hang them to dry, and the birds would eat them, and he would take the bones and make a garland necklace. So he got the name Angulimala, which means 1,000-finger necklace, or 1,000-finger mala. And he had gathered, over the course of years, 999 of these fingers. He'd also gathered a reputation, and people were afraid of him, and the kings of the region thought about sending an army in to stop him, but people were afraid to volunteer. Then something happened in his family, and his mother and father somehow figured out, this evil person, this is our son, he never came back from Tamitsila. This must be him. So the mother said to the father, you should go and turn his mind. And the father says, I want nothing to do with him anymore, I disown him. I didn't raise him to kill people. But the mother felt, that's not possible, I can't do that, I love him. I'm going to go turn his mind. So she made her way deep into the forest by herself. Buddha, who was alive at the time, had some vision of this and recognized that they had many lives of karma together and that this person had some potential. And he also recognized that killing your mother sends you straight to hell. So he didn't want that to happen for somebody with whom he had some connection, and he started a journey of 30 miles to prevent this, and arrived just as the mother was walking down the path where Angulimala was going to capture her and kill her. Angulimala saw his mother and recognized her as such, but in his heart he had no more feeling and said, I just have to get this authority from a teacher, so I need one more finger. But then he saw Buddha, and he said, oh, this is better. This is one of those recluse students of that teacher who's gathering reputation in these parts. He has no value anyway, so I can just kill him. And he ran to catch up to the Buddha, who was a few 100 yards ahead of him. But the faster he moved, the further away Buddha got. But Buddha was just walking at a normal pace, no special effort. Angulimala thought to himself, how strange. I'm young and strong and I can overtake an elephant, or a wolf, or a deer, or a tiger, but I can't catch this man. So he said to Buddha, I don't understand it. I'm running as fast as I can, and yet I can't catch you. What's going on? Buddha said, although I have stopped, you haven't stopped. And because you haven't stopped, you can't catch me. So that puzzled Angulimala even more. He said to Buddha, I don't understand this. Although you're moving, you say you've stopped. And although I've stopped, you say I'm moving. How can this be? And Buddha said, if Daesan Sanin were there, he would have said, you don't understand. But Buddha said, I have stopped, I bear no more feelings of violence toward living things, so I have stopped. But you still have this violence in your heart and in your breath, so you haven't stopped. And that touched him very deeply. And Buddha recognized that and immediately ordained him, and he became a great teacher. So this story is very interesting. It's about wanting something. It's about trying to get what you want. It's about the possibility of deception. And it's about the possibility of transformation. And that's what our practice is about. So this ceremony is an opportunity to recognize something that's really already occurred. When I watch Dennis and when I watch Merrie, I see two people who never stop. They do all kinds of work, and a lot of the work they do is work that nobody else wants to do. And I think that's always good teaching, just to watch that. So the format for this is that they will sit in the seat over here, and you will come one by one and bow, ask a question, have an exchange, then say thank you for your teaching, stand up, bow, and return to your seat. This is testing. This is a public event. In our school and in Zen tradition, this tradition of Inka is not a private thing. It's a public thing, public document. That means anybody can see, is this person clear? Is this person not clear? Is the exchange clear? Is the exchange not clear? How did they receive me? How do I receive them? Then everybody understands. So I congratulate all of us on having two new teachers come to fruition and on having the opportunity for this exchange, and I hope it's lively and interesting. Thank you.
Stand. We'll recite the threefold refuge first in English and then in Korean with Kwansen Bosal chanting.
Homage to all the Buddhas who are present in their glory at this assembly. Homage to the Dharma, which is present in its glory at this assembly. Homage to all the Sangha who are present in their glory at this assembly.
Please be seated. We'll now have meditation for 3 minutes. We'll now have Dharma Combat with Dennis Duermeier first, and then Merrie Fraser. Today, for the Inka Ceremony, please everybody come forward. We have a chance to ask a lot of questions. Come forward to the mat. Do just one standing bow. Sit down, ask your question. Then when the exchange is done, just do one sitting bow. Then you can get up and quickly leave and make way for the next person. So now we'll start with Dennis Duermeier.
Thank you, bro.
Today we have Dennis and Merrie's interview. Everybody interview. Dennis, 33 minutes, okay. How many people? Or 30 people interview. Not good, not bad, very good. Also, Merrie is the 29 minutes, a little short. Very ask short and the answer short. So 29 minutes. Also 30 minutes. Not good, not bad. It's good. So we are now due to kasa and the stick and book. Kongan book. Teaching book. Okay. First. Kasa. Take your kasa. 지도법사증, 시행법사, 기하는 본선언 지도법사의 자격이 있음을 인정함. 4월 8일 대한불교 젠홍법원 원장 이형원.
Providence School of Zen, Zen Master Seung founding teacher. Jido Puksanim certificate. Original name Dennis Duermeier. Buddhist name Shin Heng. Is authorized as a Jido Puksanim and has received Inka on April 8, 2000 at Providence Zen Center, Hong Kong, Wan, Temple of Korean of Quantum School of Zen and Temple of Chogyam Order of Korean Buddhism in America. Zen Master Seung.
Next, to Zen. 시행법사. Book here, this is a teaching book, our command book. In front of said, 대도는 무문이여 설두무거리라 도초 춘세감이 유록황이라 8 and Shan.
To Shin Heng Popsa. The great way has no gate, the tongue has no bone. Spring comes everywhere, willow is green, flowers red. April 8th, year 2000, Zen Master Seung.
지도법사증 상정법사 기하는 본서는 지도법사의 자격이 있음을 인정한 4월 8일 대한불교 제1형법원 원장 승산 행원.
Quantum School Zen Master Sahn, founding teacher. Jido Toksanen certificate. Original name Merrie, no Fraser. Buddhist name Seung. His other honor, Jido Toksanen has received Inka on April 8, 2000 at the Providence Zen Center, Hong Kong, head temple of the Quantum School of Zen, and also head temple of the Chogi Order of Korean Buddhism in America, Zen Master Seung.
상전법사 대도는 묵리어 설두무구르기가 도처신세간의 유로 과음이라 승산.
To Seung Great Way has no gate. The tongue has no bone. Spring comes everywhere. Willow is green. Flower is red. April 8, year 2000. Zen Master Seung.
We'll now have the Dharma speeches by the new Jido Poksanes. First, Dennis Duermeier, Jido Poksane.
Zen Master Sahn always teaches just do it. Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching teaches the wisdom of non-doing. So just doing, non-doing, are they the same or different? What are you doing right now? I'm so grateful and relieved. I always know where to sit when I come here now. A while back I was reading and I read about this practice which was based upon the idea that everyone who comes into this world has 12 teachers. And the basis of this practice was to figure out who those 12 teachers are as you go through your life. Who are my teachers, my 12 teachers? So it doesn't take much of this sort of practice to realize that your mind starts to open up very wide, very fast. Who is my teacher? Who is my teacher? Is this person my teacher? Is that person my teacher? And you begin to relate to everyone in a much different way. Is this dog my teacher? Is that cat my teacher? Is this guy cutting me off in the traffic my teacher? It really changes your mind. So all of us, of course, start out with our families as our first teachers. In my family, I had an older brother who was 10 years older than I was, and I just idolized him. And he had this wastebasket in his room, which had all these college pennants printed on it, all these different colleges, little pennants with their names. And I used to sneak into his room when I was young and just sort of look at that and think, oh man, there's some place where you can go, these universities where you can go and you can figure out things, you can get an answer, and I really just had aspiration someday that I would be able to follow in his footsteps somehow and go to college, and So I had this idea about going to university and figuring things out, figuring out life, understanding things. And this turned into something else even. As I grew older, I began to have this idea about the true university. I felt like there was something, somewhere that I thought of, and in my heart of hearts, I thought of as the true university, the real university. And I wanted to go there. I really wanted to go there. So, I went to the university, and that wasn't it. And so for a long time, I really wondered, where is the true university? Where is the true learning? I didn't tell very many people about this. I was a little shy, about this. It seemed like something very personal and maybe a little odd, this idea. But I told Carol about it about a year ago, and 2 days later she went out to a garage sale and she came home with this wastebasket, exactly the same wastebasket, which is sitting in my room now, and I still look at that wastebasket and think, Also, when I was growing up, my mother was a very avid reader, she imparted this to me, this love of reading and books. And one thing we always had around the house was Reader's Digest, usually in the bathroom. So, I read Reader's Digest all the time when I was growing up. And, one time I read this article. For some reason, the title just stuck in my mind. I don't even know why. I was maybe 11, 12 years old. And the title was Make Way for the No Problem Guy. Like those Reader's Digest titles, blank, the sleeping giant on our doorstep, those sorts of things. Make way for the no problem guy. And I finally met him. And I learned that the true university is on the tips of 100 blades of grass. And I could quit looking. And meeting Dae-Sun was just this wonderful gift of direction in my life, which I really felt like up until that point I lacked. I just really didn't have a clear idea of where I was going or what I was doing. So, meeting Dae-Sun and becoming part of our school, of course I encountered many other teachers and many other teachings. And I'd just like to thank all of our teachers for all of their teaching, for this tradition that's being kept alive and passed on for the benefit of all sentient beings. It's really a wonderful and remarkable and rare thing. Excuse me. And some of the best teaching I've got has been outside of formal situations. Twice in restaurants, things have occurred that have really changed my life. The first instance was having a cup of coffee with Sahn, and he was the first person who ever talked to me about becoming a teacher in this school. And I'll always be grateful to him and remember him for that encouragement. It was really wonderful, and I'll always carry that in my heart. The next time anybody talked to me about this, Zen Master He Kwang, at one point in my evolution, I guess, as a Zen student, I got very angry at the Zen Center, really pissed off, and decided I've had it with this. It's too much trouble, all these people dealing with, everybody's karma. And so I basically left. I had a very tenuous connection with the Zen Center and the Zen School for maybe 2 years. And for some reason, I decided at some point, maybe because I was getting so unhappy, that maybe I better try going back to practice. So one Sunday morning, I went back to the Kansas Zen Center, and I got to the door, and I was too late. Practice had already begun, and so I thought, I'll go have a cup of coffee instead. So I just, left without even going in, and went down to Wheatfields' bakery in town, and sat down, had a cup of coffee, and got the paper, and then here comes Zen Master He Kwang, who was also late for practice. And sat down beside me and had a cup of coffee, and he also, in that morning, in that situation, encouraged me to really think seriously about becoming a teacher in this school, and I'm very grateful for that. I'll always remember that. So this teaching, is very wide, and this teaching doesn't occur always in the Dharma room and in these formal settings. So For whatever kind of practice you're doing, I hope it can keep your mind wide open and receptive to this when it comes at you moment to moment to moment, so that you can receive it. One of the things that's always attracted me to this practice, to Zen in general, has been that so much of the teaching is in terms of stories. I try to read sutras and it just doesn't penetrate somehow. My mind just doesn't work that way. But if I hear a story, it stays with me. And so I'd like to close this talk with two of my favorite stories that have always really hit me. One is about a famous and eccentric Zen master in old China, who's known as Bird's Nest Zen master because he lived in a tree, practiced up on a branch, and was known far and wide for his wisdom and eccentricity. So one day it happened that one of the imperial courtiers had tired of the intrigue and superficiality of court life, and decided he'd heard of this teacher and decided to go out and get some good teaching from him. So he dressed in his best robe and got on his finest horse and rode out, and sure enough found this tree, and sure enough up in the tree is this old man sitting there practicing. So he dismounts and waits down there and waits and waits and waits and waits, and there's no recognition, which to someone of his station and stature at this time is not so good. So he's getting a little angry, a little more irritated, and a little more angry. So finally, he remembers that he'd heard sometime that to get teaching from a Zen master, you have to ask a question. So he racks his brain and finally comes up with this question and hollers up at the old teacher. He says, "Old man," he says, "that's pretty precarious up there." And immediately there's this response from up in the tree, "Not half so precarious as your situation down there." So he's a little taken aback by this, and so he says, "Well, then tell me, what is it that all the Buddhas have taught?" And the old man said, "Do all good, avoid all evil. Thus all Buddhas have taught." So now he's really upset and says, "No, do all good, avoid all evil. I've known that since I was 4 years old." And the answer comes down immediately again. A 4-year-old may know it, but an 80-year-old cannot do it. So that's our practice and that's our teaching. Do it. Now, we all understand. Everybody understands how to live, what to do, but do it. Can you do it? Can you do it? That's our practice. The other story is about a famous warrior who had been famous, feared, and revered all throughout the land during his life because he was so fearsome and such a skillful swordsman. He killed many, many, many people. And he's getting older, and he realizes it's only a question of time before someone a little more skillful, a little younger, and a little quicker comes along and takes care of him. And he starts to think, I've killed so many people, it's been bad all through my life. I wonder what's going to happen to me after I die. So he also hears of a famous and wise teacher living nearby, so he thinks he'll go ask this old teacher some question about his situation after he dies. So again, he gets himself up in his best robe with his 2 swords, and he stomps into the temple and just ignores all the formalities and right into the Dharma room. And there's the old teacher sitting there on the floor practicing. And again, there's no acknowledgement of his presence, and so he stands there for a while and getting more and more irritated. And finally, he says, "Old man," he says, "I want something from you. I want you to tell me about heaven and hell." And immediately the teacher looks up and says, "What? Tell an asshole like you? Why should I bother to talk to anybody like you? You're just worthless. Get out of here. Get out of here. Quit bothering me." This guy's enraged, absolutely enraged. Nobody talks to him like that. And immediately draws his sword, lop the teacher's head off. And just as the sword reaches the apex of the arc of the swing, the teacher says, "Here open the gates of hell." Pow! He's paralyzed. He can't move. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to think. He's not scared. He doesn't seem to care that I'm going to kill him. Here open the gates of hell. What can I mean? Very, very slowly, puts the sword back down and resheathes it. And the old man, again in the same calm tone of voice, says, "Here open the gates of heaven." So hell Which one are you making? Be careful.
Now we'll have a Dharma speech from Merrie, Fraser, Jita Pope-Sini.
Don't know mind is compassion mind. Compassion mind is don't know mind. No don't know mind, no compassion mind. Don't know mind is don't know mind. Compassion mind is compassion mind. 3 statements. Which is correct? Ha! How may I help you? While we dwell in a realm of opposites, suffering is always with us. We can pick it off the shelf every day. But as we continue to practice, we find ways of relieving our own suffering. But that's just for us. So as we continue to practice more, we see the suffering of everybody else. And as we see that suffering, we think, what can I do? I can see them suffering, but I don't know what to do. So only practice more, then true compassion appears. And along with that, it knows what to do. This true compassion mind knows what to do. A long time ago, when we were taking this trip to Korea, we went shopping for Buddhist trinkets in these Buddhist stores, and they would let us in the back room, and so we'd go in the back room and we'd see these drums and things, and in one shelf of the back room was this Kwanzaa Boso statue. It was almost life-size, and it had no paint on it. It was just plain wood except for the eyes. And it was sitting up on a shelf, so if you looked up into it, I remember kind of poking around in there, and I looked up into the eyes, and they were the most compassionate, saddest expression I have ever seen. And if I could have taken the statue with me and, put him in an airplane seat, I would have taken him back, but it wasn't possible. But I never forgot those eyes and that expression on that face. This statue's expression is don't knows child. The statue's expression is compassion mind. So cut off all thinking and all attachments of I like and I don't like, and then compassion appears. All of us have heard these words many, many times, and we all think we know what they mean. But to really cut off all attachments and to walk free, completely free, is really difficult. It's especially difficult to cut off the part that says, my life, my practice is correct. We all have hidden ideas of ourselves. I've taken a while to discover this, but we all have them. And the problem with the hidden idea of ourselves is that is like our primary cause of all the things that we do in life. So if you find your hidden idea and you can get rid of that hidden idea, then you can truly be free. And you can really understand what only returning to don't know and then true compassion mind means. Don't know knows its job. It doesn't require any opinions from us or any ideas from us. If we are clear, compassion really appears. So trust that. Don't add legs on a snake. Don't make extra stuff. When this true compassion mind appears, then we get correct action also comes along with that. And then it's possible to help anybody. It may not seem to be the sort of thing that you would do if you were thinking about it, but sometimes that really, whatever appears, really is a help to them. So trust that mind. One of the things that I've discovered is many people, the best teachers I've had are the ones that I got along with the least. And they were really good teachers for me. They would show me where my weaknesses were and what things that I needed to change. So it's really helpful to be thankful for that, even though at the time it doesn't seem worth it being thankful for somebody you really can't get along with, but it's really worth it to do that and to eventually cultivate those people. So there's no special meaning in this speech. It all comes from don't mind. So our everyday life, working, socializing, playing, these are all bases for helping other people. Correct function, correct situation, correct relationship appear magically. So walk free, unencumbered throughout the universe. In the beginning of this speech, there were 4 statements about don't know mind and compassion mind. All were mistakes. What is the truth? Ha! Providence has a waxing moon and an Inka ceremony. Phoenix has a bright moon and letters from prison back and forth.
We'll now have the congratulatory talks, and the first 2 are going to be for Dennis Duermeier and Judah Popsamin. And first we'll hear from Susan Warden.
I'm so happy to be here today to congratulate Dennis and Merrie. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. When I was cuddling my daughter on Friday night, she said to me, you know what makes Dennis such a wonderful teacher? He gives great Dharma talks and he watches football and drinks beer. My first memory actually at the Kansas Zen Center is Dennis's smile. I remember going and it seemed very formal and very fussy and very serious. And then out of this big round face came this wonderful smile. And I feel like I followed that smile for the last 12 years or how long ever it's been. And I think all of us at the Zen Center feel that way. And in that smile is everything we feel about Dennis, his openness, his integrity, his humbleness, his kindness, his competence. If you need anything done, he can get it done for you. Always a speaking of his smile. And in the hard times, when I didn't want to practice or be at the Zen Center, whenever I returned, there would be the smile to welcome me. And I think that's true for all of us. And when you're with Dennis, there's such this wonderful clear space around you. It feels like you're really just there with him. It's completely open, and yet it's completely intimate at the same time. And anything's possible right then. So I want to thank him for his hard practice and the school and De Sonson's teaching for being able to produce such a wonderful, wonderful teacher. I think we all believe in him completely, we love him completely, and we all want to attain his mind. So he's really been a teacher and will continue to be a teacher for us. When he asked to give me this, for me to give this congratulatory talk, he asked me, and then he said, and maybe you'll dance. So I feel like I got my marching orders, but what I do is I dance in my career. And so I made some movement for Dennis that I want to show you. But this comes from a time, 10 years ago, my family moved to Wisconsin from Kansas, and I stopped dancing completely for 6 years. And it was a very difficult time for me. And during that time, I went to hear a Dharma talk by De Sonson'in. And at the tea and cookies afterwards, I told him all about my troubles and how sad I was not to dance. And what should I do, what should I do? And he just looked at me and said, who are you dancing for? And this has changed my dancing ever since then. And today, Dennis, thank you. I'm dancing for you.
There would be songs sung by the choir. I would have a white robe, heel newly acquired. I'd be at peace, I'd have no desire if I live right. There would be church time.
We now have a talk by Zen Master Hei Kwang.
Yeah, my first memory of Dennis also is this open face. This was, I guess, 1980. I had just become a Dharma teacher, just gotten his robes, a ceremony at Empty Gate in the summer. And then came back, and we were starting the Zen Center. And I was teaching a class at the Lawrence Arts Center. And I remember trying to decide, okay, this is a public class, so should I wear these robes or not? Also, these robes are very new to me then also. And I said, yeah, wear the robes. So I was in the room, and the students were there, and I was putting on my robes, and just as I was doing this, I looked and saw Dennis's face in the back row. And the saying from Lin Chi just came into my mind. Lin Chi says, always moving out of your eyes and back in again. There's a true man of no rank. And that's how we toasted Dennis last night at a party for him. True man of no rank. But now he has some rank. And looking at Dennis also at that moment, you have a feeling of your whole future. So here's the future of the Kansas Zen Center. It's like there were children crying and banners flying all around the chosen one. that sort of moment. Then things got a little rough for a few years. We actually started this residential Zen Center. And it became eventually, Dennis and Carol were really the two people who were living there, but still keeping it going as a Zen Center. And this talk is also in appreciation for Carol. Not simply, oh, she takes care of the kids while her husband practices, that style, but simply for her presence and her vast openness and just wonderful, wonderful heart through all the years. When Zen came for our 20th anniversary to give a speech, he called our Zen Center the original mistake Zen Center. For many years, he held out very little hope. For the Kansas Zen Center. Its survival really is due in large part to Dennis and Carol maintaining this house under siege. I tend to think of things in classical terms. And I've been thinking of Dennis as Odysseus lately. In the Odyssey, Odysseus goes to the underworld to find out what he has to do to get home. He digs a trench and fills it full of blood. And he's sitting on one side of the trench with his sword. And one by one, the souls in the underworld come up to him, and there's an interview. It's just like an Inka ceremony. So I was thinking of that. And running a Zen center is very much like maintaining the palace of Odysseus, which is besieged by these 120 young men who party there every day, break all the rules, try to marry his wife. I don't think Kansas Zen Center was quite that bad when you came home from work. I hope you didn't have that feeling. But now, all of this promise is fulfilled. And when I look at you, you two together now, it's clear that your minds have come together. Your minds have always been together. But now there's some kind of wonderful resolution to everything. And I want to acknowledge that by reading just a couple of pages from